Hi, today's topic is how to attack or challenge any valuation in court with graphics. Following on from my video on how to attack all valuations, I will now endeavour to show you how to plot and record comparables used in valuation reports that will either condemn or support the valuer. No valuer can escape this type of scrutiny. Once they include any comparable in their report, they have stated to the world that they deem this sale as relevant and a reliable indicator of current market value. Therefore, the choice of older sales is a clear indication of bias, deception, misrepresentation, or possible corruption. All solicitors should watch this video because of the incredible insight it provides. Now, graphic imagery produces proof or possible proof that a so-called professional has acted with deception and bias. Now, the first graphic has to do with price, but there are many more. Please study the graphic on your screen. Now, this is how to challenge any valuation. You simply plot and compare the comparable sales used by opposing valuers. It should become clear which party has erred in the selection of comparable sales, and then plot and record all sales that were not used by either party in a graphic format that should lead to a conclusion of selective bias. Then attack their reasons or omissions or inclusions. All valuations have instructions and instructing parties, and this is the first area that should be attacked, particularly in the case of acquisition land valuations, because it has the effect of defrauding property owners of their rightful entitlements. There is a weight of evidence that cannot be ignored and should always prevail if presented in the right format. Next, we'll move on. It's still on your screen, but the date of comparison. Clearly, if a valuer chooses older, lower sales, he or she is on a mission. They want to choose sales that best suit their instructions. They are not in the pursuit of true or fair market values. Again, it is the sales that are omitted that will indicate bias or corruption, and the only way to show that is via graphics. Always attack valuers and valuations using graphics. This current method of directing valuers to confer is monumental bullshit. They need to remove all the backing that has protected corporate firms through status, repeated instructions from the ones who will save the most. Then you move on to timelines. This graphic will highlight intent, direction, bias, deception, possible corruption, and it will reflect badly on the valuer and his or her reputation. If you follow the path of always plotting what a valuer has done, it will always lead to the conclusion of bias or fairness. One valuer will be right and the other will be wrong. And by the way, timelines is another way to compare valuers as to their bona fides. It is clear from the graphic on your screen that the wrong valuer has chosen older sales and has ignored recent sales. Again, you must ask yourself why. Why would this be so? There can only be one reason. he has been instructed to come in low. This system is corrupt, and this graphic makes it hard for wrong valuers to escape or explain. Never let valuers confer, just find out which ones are closer to the truth. Now, out of area comparison. Please study the graphic on your screen, and it should be apparent that the right valuer chose only comparables within a close proximity to the subject property. The wrong valuer has chosen comparables from out of area, and you must ask yourself why. What would make a valuer ignore closer sales and seek sales from out of area? I put it to you, there can only be one conclusion. He is trying to drive the price down. He is not trying to find true values or market values. He simply knows the system, and he strikes a value at $32 a square metre, and the right valuer comes in at $100 a square metre, and a judge intervenes, and he will adjust at $67 a square metre. Either way, the government wins always. What a stupid, moronic system that has been developed and should be stopped via graphic exposure and evidence. Now, the size of comparables chosen. If the size of the comparables chosen are way larger than the subject parcel, you are dealing with intent to deceive, defraud and mislead. If this is coupled with out-of-area comparisons, it would seem impossible to explain the rationale and the professionalism. Instead it smacks of cheating. If they are using comparables with larger land areas and have ignored smaller retail parcels, again, it must come back to intention. They should have omitted such a sale because of including it. All valuers know that larger parcels are far cheaper than smaller parcels, and it is insane to believe otherwise. What valuers are supposed to do? Please study the diagram on your screen, and it should be clear that one valuer is way off the mark, and you must ask yourself why. What possesses them to seek and record low numbers? Sure, the sales exist, but selecting them will indicate bias or corruption. Now, if you study this diagram on your screen, it is very clear that all valuers, given the same task, should arrive at the same area. But this is rarely the case. Now, there are many other concepts that influence their findings, such as knowledge, fieldwork, research, instructions, remuneration, and continued selection. In other words, if they do the right thing, they'll always produce low valuations, skewed valuations, and are likely to happen based on relationships and retainerships to instructing parties. Comparables should be in writing and within a 5% range, not a 10 to 50% range. Now that brings us to macro issues. Macro will always defeat micro. Therefore, if the retail value of the residential allotments within a proximity to the subject land is $350 a square metre, and a government values the acquisition land at $32 a square metre, there is a major issue. Not only that, but the same approach is used, if the same approach is used on all other properties being acquired, there is a massive issue. And if the same comparables are used in all valuation reports, you have collusion and corruption at its highest. solicitors should subpoena all other reports. Always present the evidence. It is far more compelling. No valuer wants to keep on explaining bullshit. Macro means stick to the facts. Now, while I'm on this subject, the one thing that I would like to say to solicitors, it is better to run group cases rather than single cases, especially in acquisition matters. But it has been my experience that most solicitors want to keep everything hush-hush. I think that is a stupid way to go forward. The weight of evidence against such a report is alarming. These valuers must be stopped and everything they do must be brought to light. The practice must be stopped because it emanates from a culture of intimidation from legal proceedings that have been set up to defraud property owners. The market value of residential must be examined from a retail or end user point of view versus the land developers that purchase broadacre allotments, then undertake development activities to produce serviced allotments ready for sale or for house and land packages. Retail values must be known before wholesale values can be determined, and the initial values understood in relationship to the resale values and who is entitled to the profit or profit margins. More sales occur to end users, whereas the sales to developers are rare. If a valuer has used all larger parcels, i.e. wholesale market values, and ignored retail values, they have exercised bias, therefore possible corruption. All market activity should be investigated, and if certain sales are left out, you should press to find out why. Presenting graphics is the best way to discredit valuers or at least make them look stupid. Attacking the main value determinants should reveal a damaging pattern, but there is still more. You should be able to see that on every graphic one valuer has made morally intelligent, correct decisions where the other valuer has made slanted, deceptive, immoral, unintelligent decisions. And there must be a reason. Comparables are chosen by valuers that best suit their instructions rather than the valuer being influenced by market activity or by moral ethics. In other words, if a sale has appeared that contradicts their belief system or instructions, they will omit it rather than explain it away or seek to find another sale that supports their viewpoint. Solicitors should always challenge every comparable contained in reports because following this line of inquiry is more likely to lead to a conclusion of bias and, if proven, indicates corruption. Every solicitor and judge should sit up and take notice. This goes to the core of the decision-making process, and it should be attacked. Always ask to see proof of the number of properties inspected, the photos, the age, the location, the measurements, the new and former owners, and conversations and marketing info and the media used, etc., to establish true market bona fides. If a valuer uses a comparable that they have not inspected, they should be attacked without mercy. Market movements can only be detected and evaluated if the latest sales are used. Using older information and sales data in preference to later sales is a sure indication of bias and collusion or even corruption. Stop listening to valuers' excuses. Plot the comparables used, then the comparables not used, and use the graphic results as condemning factual evidence against their reports. The current practices of judge ordering valuers to confer to reach an agreement, if possible, is so far out of whack it's not funny. This method is extremely short-sighted and will always have the effect of supporting corruption. Judges should decide for themselves in the pursuit of justice and insist on market evidence and decide on which valuer is closer to the truth. Solicitors need to see this evidence to understand and comprehend their client's position and to pursue a course of action that will get them before a judge for a fair decision instead of caving into arguments that come from the heavy side of town. All valuers will think twice before they put crap in their reports again. All of the diagrams used are based on a real-life scenario. And one last point, business valuations. Comparables cannot be found in business valuation reports because accounting methods do not use comparables and are unavailable in the public domain. Look for data sets and closed shop comparisons which will indicate cheating and manipulation. Some valuers, or business valuers, use business sales up to 100 k's away and over 20 years old. Are they stupid or what? Well, that concludes today's program or presentation. I hope you get your copy of my book soon.